Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 11 of my Force India F1 2016 career mode, where today we actually begin the episode in the trophy cabinet, just to show, you know, we've earned trophies this year, and that's a positive thing for Force India. But next race on the calendar is the Hungarian Grand Prix, obviously a track that I'm now very well accustomed to. Obviously not a new Grand Prix like we saw a couple of weeks back in Baku, but still another very, very tight, twisty track. Luckily for this one, I do have a setup from AOR, so I will hopefully be a bit quicker than usual. Hence why, for the next video, I'm going to be cranking up the AI to Legend. I've been running on Expert just to really get into this career mode, just learn the game a bit. But we're going to crank it up to Legend for the next episode there. And as you can see there, to begin with, we have just done the track acclimatization, and we only got green on one of them. We got purple on everything else, so that was absolutely beautiful to see there. So we're definitely well adjusted to the track. And on our qualifying simulation run, we also go purple once again there. So very, very happy with the R&D objectives in free practice. So obviously, we do need to be gaining a lot of R&D. I know at the start of the season I was very, very slow to earn the R&D points. But now I've really started pumping a lot more effort into trying to get the R&D in free practice and such like. And hopefully this means moving forward we can get a lot more upgrades on the car a lot quicker. But anyway, now moving on into qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Obviously, as I was mentioning just previously, the fact we do have a setup for this, so we should actually be very, very strong around this track. Obviously, just the game showing off some pans and everything. And we are now going to, I think now we're going to actually install the setup. It was looking very, very overcast on track, so I was wondering whether I should try and make the lap in really quickly, or actually go out a lot later into the session, say if it was going to rain and then become a lot dry near the end. But as you can see here, now we're just going to load this setup. If you do want this setup, it is, I can't remember who it was by, and I don't even know, I can't even explain how you download setups on this game. It's so much easier on Forza, I won't lie, but still. Obviously, that is part Firme now confirmed, so we cannot go back from this setup now. As we can see, coming into the end of our qualifying lap here, Raikkonen has gone fastest so far. As we come through the final corner though, DRS open, and can we beat him? No, we cannot. We are just 2 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen though. So I'm still feeling very, very confident with that lap. Obviously, we want to save the tyres as much as we can. But when we come back into the pits, everyone had massively improved. So we're down to P7 behind, obviously, the dominant Mercedes. Red Bull actually, this should be a very strong track for them over Ferrari. And then we were sort of the best of the rest, if you will, just ahead of both Williams cars. But now moving on into the race, obviously, we've got our agents giving us our race aims, race goals from the team. And obviously, there was nothing particularly special there either, just making sure, obviously, we knew exactly what we want to be achieving here today. But the race was actually looking very, very good weather-wise. I think in a second, obviously, when we can have a look at the tablet to see if we want to change our strategy and things like we usually do. It was actually looking, obviously, like an incredibly dry race, just all the way through on broken sunshine there. So I was quite positive about that. Obviously, I'm going to run down through the top 10. Hamilton, Rosberg, Verstappen, Ricciardo. And then after those two, obviously the two Ferraris of Raikkonen in 5th, Vettel in 6th, very, very close between those two. Myself in 7th, ahead of the Williams of Bottas and Massa, and then to round out the top 10, I think we had Danny Kvyat there, if I'm not mistaken. But moving on now into the race strategy, obviously, as people that watch this career mode usually know, I don't stick to the strategy the game recommends I do so. So we're actually going to go for a 3-stop strategy here, trying to use as many sets of super soft tyres as we possibly can. But when we move further into the race, you'll see that we don't actually decide to stick to that strategy. But moving on to our formation lap now, obviously all we do is just cycle up through the gears and then give up the formation lap. So we're just going to skip on to the lights now. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away we go for the Hungarian Grand Prix there. Vettel seems to get cat-like reactions off the launch, but bogs down slightly on the second phase. And Raikkonen there just gets an absolutely terrible start there. We're already looking around the outside of him into turn 1 there. Vettel on the inside of him as well. Going to try and avoid pinching Raikkonen too much between both of us. So he's going to be able to maintain the position at turn 1 there. We get, once again, absolutely wonderful traction at the exit of the corner there. So we're going to move up the inside of Raikkonen into turn 3 there. Still going side by side. We're going to put a little dash of power there as well, just to really just prove ourselves as we were in front of him by this point. So now we're up to P5. Everyone's really slow here, so I nearly take out Vettel there. Nearly lose the back end myself, an incredible amount there. I'm having to correct over and over there as we move around the outside of Raikkonen through turn 4 once again. It seemed, from what I gathered, that the Mercedes were going side by side, and that just slowed down Ricciardo, Verstappen, Vettel and myself there. So very, very lucky that we didn't get too much damage on the front wing. I don't think we actually sustained any damage there, quite luckily there. So I was very, very surprised at that. But we are still following through Vettel, Verstappen and Ricciardo here through Sector 2. Obviously, Monaco without the barriers is how Hungary is described, even though the barriers are still incredibly close. But looking to the end of lap 1 there, We are coming up behind Sebastian Vettel there, with Rosberg setting purple laps there as well. So now we're just going to look up the inside of Sebastian Vettel into turn 1 there, and up the inside of Max Verstappen as well through turn 1. So an absolutely beautiful double overtake there. Wasn't really expecting to get past Max Verstappen there, but we managed to make the move stick anyway. But now moving on close to the end of lap 2 here, as you can see, we have closed in Daniel Ricciardo there. Going purple in sector 2 as well, obviously with this being the second lap you go purple pretty much everywhere you possibly can. But still, I'm not going to try and take that enthusiasm away from myself there. So we're just going to try and focus on making sure we get a good run out of the final corner. This is pretty much the only sector where the Red Bull really struggles. Just solely where it's down to straight line speed here, and just acceleration at the corners there. Obviously no DRS still, as we are running on lap 2 here. But setting a purple lap time there as well, beating both Mercedes, so they must be starting to get a little bit nervous. As we're going to look down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo. Don't try and get the car fully past him yet, just pretty much park it on the apex on his inside there, so he's got no other option but just to pretty much yield the position to us there. But if we had a little look there quickly, tyre wear has been incredibly poor through this first phase of the race here. Very disappointing to see for myself, as it does really limit the strategy that I can do. So I was actually at this point considering sticking to the 3-stop strategy like the team had recommended, but I thought just realistically how much time we'd lose, it just wouldn't be a viable solution. But still moving on now to lap 4 here, we are right behind Lewis Hamilton there. Using the DRS to just get straight up the inside of him there, a very textbook move once again. Replicating that over and over in this Grand Prix, they're just making all the AI just feel sorry for themselves there and just want to go away and cry. But moving on to lap 5 here, as you can see on the minimap, we had actually gone purple through the middle sector there, but we are going to come into the pits now at the end of this lap. A very early pit stop indeed, but we're actually going to go on to the hardest compounded tyres here, which is actually the medium set of tyres there as well. Just trying to make sure we don't speed into the pits there, being very cautious. But moving on to the end of the pit lane here, very normal pit stop there, nothing too surprising. And we actually come out the pits in P13 ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, although he had come into the pits as well, he had joined us. But we come out in an absolutely beautiful gap there. He's got Magnussen right behind us. We couldn't have timed that much better in all fairness there. So very happy with that in the end, as it worked out beautifully for us there. With just quite a long distance up the road before the next car. But moving on to the end of the next lap here, as you can see just on the top left there, we're just moving up a few more positions there. Move up into P8. Hamilton is still behind us, which is a very good sign based on how big the gap was. But moving on to the end of lap 7 here, as you can see, Alonso and Gutierrez in the Haas are doing incredibly well here. They're obviously on the medium tyres, just trying to stretch their tyres as far as they possibly can. Hamilton behind us is on the soft tyres as we go purple there once again. So another absolutely incredible lap, but we've overtaken Nico Rosberg, which means we have now taken the net lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix there. So very happy to make that overtake as well. Just obviously the tyres working out really well for us there. And just the earlier stop meant, I don't know, obviously he wouldn't get held up in traffic or anything, but we got pretty lucky as well with it. But we're still want to try and get a couple of cars between us at this point, as Fernando Alonso will be the first car we aim to do that against. As we just follow him through turn 4, they're a very horrible corner, but we're going to look up the inside into turn 5 there. Get the move done very simply there, as next up on our hit list is Esteban Gutierrez, and obviously a very surprising 4th place. Also note he's on the super soft tyres at this point, so he has stretched those tyres as far as he possibly could go there. Obviously very impressive performance from him here. I don't know how good the Haas really is on tyres there, as we get incredibly close to his gearbox through, I don't even know what corner that is, about turn 13 now if I'm not mistaken. Might be a couple of corners less than that, but I'm not 100% sure. But we're still having to follow him, as there is just no place to overtake through sector 2 there, apart from probably the hairpin and going into the chicane. But moving on now into the second to last hairpin here, we just move up the inside of Gutierrez. Not really a lot he can do there, but we do make the position stick. As next up on our hit list is Jenson Button, as a couple of other drivers have come through the pits. And Jenson, just on his set of soft tyres, obviously after announcing his retirement a couple of weeks back, is just no match for us in our fresher tyres in the Force India. We do force him a little bit wide, which he probably isn't too happy with, but still we make the position stick. And we are now in the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix here. But moving on to the end of lap 13, if I'm not mistaken, I think Rosberg might actually come to the pits in. No, he's not. He's actually right on our gearbox at this point as we dip a wheel on the grass. They're just trying to look behind to see where he is. And Rosberg with the DRS, we're just not going to be able to defend from him into turn 1. As he goes at the inside, tries parking it pretty much. We try to look for the undercut, but can't get the front wing under the first time we try to. So he has taken the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Obviously, we do have to take into consideration the fact he is on faster tyres at this stage. We will have to pit earlier than us. But when we look at the fact we had to pit so early on our set of super soft tyres there, there's not really a lot we can actually do to really defend him at this stage of the Grand Prix. As you can see, fast forwarding very much further into the Grand Prix there, the tyres are at 78% wear there, which is really, really not looking good for us at this stage. Rosberg also dies into the pits there, as you can see on the right-hand side. But the tyres, we're pretty much having to nurse them at this stage, trying to get them just to stretch them as many laps as we possibly can. Because at this stage, we are just trying to make sure we do end up doing our final stint on a set of soft tyres rather than a set of mediums, as that would just be so bad for us. And it would pretty much cost us the race. As you can see, Valtteri Bottas is at the Grand Prix, and we've managed to get a safety car, and that could not work out any better timing than for us there. As the safety car has come out pretty much as we're now just obviously going to dive into the pits, basically getting a free pit stop, as we had a huge advantage over Rosberg. Pretty much just obviously a whole pit stop there. So we're just not going to even try and even consider this opportunity. We're just going to take it up and take it a run whilst we possibly can there, as that has worked out so well for us. I can't get over how beautifully timed that did end up working out for us there. Rosberg and Vettel are probably just going to be so disappointed with the fact that we're able to hold the lead here. And I cannot be happy with that, as that pretty much just guarantees we are still in the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Though, as you can see on the minimap, actually, I did get a little bit nervous at this stage, thinking that Rosberg might be able to jump us. But he won't be able to do so, as we're now on a quicker set of tyres, and we have the track position, and also we need to take into account the fact the safety car basically just means we've got 3 laps with very minimal tyre wear. But as we can see now, moving on to the end of lap 24, there is Bottas on the inside though as well. As the safety car will actually be coming in at the end of this lap. And Rosberg is actually about 2-3 seconds behind us here. Not really sure what that's all about, he just didn't want to close up too much just there. So we're pretty much just going to abuse this opportunity to get right up on the safety car's gearbox. Unfortunately, obviously, the safety car limiter activation was enabled there. But as you can see, just looking behind us there, Rosberg is just not bothered closing us in. I'm not really sure what that's all about. So we're literally just trying to stamp on the throttle at this point, trying to use the advantage. But obviously, the safety car hasn't come into the pit lane yet. So we're not going to be able to do so there. So we just decided, you know, at this point, if we're not going to be able to get the advantage, we may as well just box everyone up as much as we possibly can. Try and give Rosberg a little bit of hassle from his teammate behind him there. As you can see, the yellow flags are prepared to resume racing there, but we're just not going to look like it. And coming out the second to last corner, we're just going to stamp on the throttle as well. Just getting an absolutely beautiful run out the final turn there as well. So we've managed to make that safety car restart an absolute world for ourselves here. If we're going to have a look behind as well, Rosberg is nearly a second behind us already there, so we can't have asked for much better there. But moving on now onto lap 31, at this stage of the Grand Prix, the tyres had pretty much just hit the cliff now. Obviously, we had pulled out a huge margin over Rosberg and Hamilton, but we always knew these tyre wear would be a stretch right to the very end here. But moving on through into turn 3 here, as you can see, yellow flags are out, and Lewis Hamilton has had a huge engine problem there. He is obviously straight out of the Grand Prix. We're just going to go straight back and have a look what has happened to him there. So that's a huge shame for him. Obviously, he was looking like he could probably win this Grand Prix here. I don't honestly believe, with the tyre wear being the way it was, that we would be able to keep the move from him. But let's just try and have a look from our point of view here. We are now going to try and also have a look from the car behind us in a split second here, if we do actually, you know, work out how to use a menu as well. So here we are from Lewis Hamilton's point of view, trying to work out how to change camera angle as well at this stage. There we go, from the cinematic shot there. As we can see, just coming through the turn 3 hairpin there, the engine just goes as we come towards turn 4 there, sorry. And I'm not really sure what happened to it. Don't know whether that was just, whether it just in the engine under too much strain for too many races here. But looking from behind the cars, you can just see it just poof in a cloud of smoke there. A huge disappointment for Hamilton. That just puts him straight out of the Grand Prix there. Looking at it in real time, as you can see, it just goes, and there's no way he's ever going to be able to get that to the end, because of how much he was smoking there. So a huge shame for Lewis Hamilton there. And that means he is out of the Hungarian Grand Prix with just 4 laps to go. Really not helping his title chances at this stage, as we are fairly close to him in the standings after he did just edge us out last weekend out. So I was actually fairly happy to see him not be able to make it to the end there. But on to the end of lap 32 there, we get the worst run ever at the final corner there, as Rosberg is going to be challenging us into turn 1. We're going to try and push him, do a bit of a Schumacher move there, put him near enough in the wall there, which could have been very bad if he had actually hit the wall. But just trying to look to get the undercut through turn 1 there. Obviously not going to have any DRS. Rosberg's going to be able to keep the DRS, but we get absolutely beautiful traction out. Still on rich bits at this point, just trying to defend the position. We're literally just going to have to throw it up the inside of every corner once Rosberg moves past us there. So moving up the inside through turn 3 there, very happy to get the move done once again there, as we do seem to be holding on to the lead of the Grand Prix. And coming into the final lap of the race here, Rosberg is trying to maximise his run out the final corner, just getting his front wheels alongside our rears as we come through the final corner, but backing out right at the very end there. But he's going to come round our outside on the final lap into turn 1 there. does a bit of an odd weave there. I've been a bit disappointed if he tried brake checking us there. That could have probably ended up very, very costly for the pair of us. Not really sure what that weave was all about. But Verstappen has now gone through on Nico Rosberg there. So Verstappen is now trying to take his chances and claim some solid points for Red Bull here. Obviously, a track that I mentioned at the beginning is very, very strong for Red Bull here. So obviously Verstappen is just going to try and use the opportunity whilst Rosberg was caught out by himself, outbraking him once getting into turn 1 there. And that pretty much just means with Verstappen and Rosberg fighting there, that pretty much gives us like sort of half a second, 3/4 second window till the two drivers there. Verstappen has managed to solidify his position at this stage now. But we're now looking a little bit worried. In fact, we've got to lap Felipe Nasr here, and it looks like we've caught him pretty much at the worst possible time, which is a huge, huge pain for us. Obviously, don't really want to try and have to overtake around the outside of him. I'm hoping he can just kind of shift out the way here. Trying to just time it really well for ourselves so we don't try and reel him in too much, but no idea what his line is through there. And that means Max Verstappen is closed right in on us again. He's going to try and hold it up the inside into the corner. So just how much debris is there? I'm not really sure what that's all about either. But that's pretty much meant now that Nasr, pretty much just parked the apex on Verstappen and Rosberg. This pretty much just means we are going to come through to win the Hungarian Grand Prix there. Very, very good result for ourselves. So happy we could take the win in Hungary after we lost that on that podium last time out. Another very, very solid performance for us there. There's no denying it though. The safety car completely won us that Grand Prix there. But the race win is the race win, and we take home the full 25 points there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new around here. I'm going to leave you now with the points, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Don't say you're on the road to the other side, my love. But you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. What you